Right, hello. I'm back. I'm eager to just finish this thing. So what we're gonna do is, it's like it is a proof of concept. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna allow you to, we're gonna change this to set dependencies, and we're just gonna do a comma separated list to make it easy. Dependencies, and then yeah, we can keep that, and then let's see. So what we're going to do is usage examples. Okay, first we need to go and figure out what dependencies we've added. So all dependencies um, is dependencies split on comma, and then we need to trim them. Dep.trim. So now we have all the dependencies. Let's see how we're going to do this. We should probably create some function out of this, but okay, let's just go through them. So for every we're going to change this. I know I'm going to mess up with this. What should we call it? This is not the real dependencies. This is like from the input. Okay, let's rename it to the dependency list. And then dependency in of dependency list. Oh my god, dependency list. We're gonna do all of this stuff. So ideally we actually do this. You know what? We're not gonna do this. We're gonna do resolved the dependency usage examples. So we're going to do this in parallel. So we're going to say dependency list, so wait promise.all. I'm going to map over that, and then we have the dependency there. And now we can put all of this stuff right where we were. Let's see, shove that in there. So this would be dependency. And what I forgot is the dependency needs to have a version. So we need to go and figure out the version regardless. So let's do that first. We always need to do this. And I think, where are we at? So yeah, we have version, and we really only need to store the, what's it called? Minor version. We don't need a patch version. We're gonna assume that the library works the same. It's the same public interface on patch versions. So version would be package json.version, and then plus at, or let's say dependency with version. This will be dependency plus plus dependency with version, and if, yes, we don't have to check this anymore. So if there is no usage examples, we're going to go and grab the dependency. We're decompressing. We're creating the thing, dependency with version, and we're setting the usage examples. So there we have it. And what we want to do is after this if, we want to return usage examples. So now we should have a list of strings which are usage. Well, we need to return the name of the dependency with the name is dependency usage and then usage examples. So now there should be a list of dependency usage examples. So we have the dependencies, we can insert that into the prompt. And what we're gonna do is okay, so we're gonna try to just basically map over this name usage examples. Just gonna return this. And then we're gonna do name and then usage examples, and then use the documentation for the dependencies to implement a single recommend that is exported as default. Okay, another thing that we need for this, that should really be it. And then and of course here. Oh, we need a version. Okay, let's bring in the version as well. Oh, package JSON version. We're gonna what's it called? Dependency usage examples map name and version to name and version. And don't we have that over here as well? We do. Let's do the same there. Yeah, and then we have external dependencies. So sorry, external resources. Sorry, I just need to read something. Okay, awesome. Yes, sorry. So now we do that, and I really want to add, like, so you can add external resources as well. So that means, let's just use comma. I'm so lazy. Are we using, am I using, no, we're just using styles there. Okay. So h3 dependencies, external resources. Now the thing is, how does it understand external resources? So this is a different problem of ours. Yeah, and there's no, like, this is a much bigger problem, really. The only reason, like, so the way I like to think about LLMs in terms of coding is that they don't, like, they have some inherent understanding, like they're only trained on the languages. It's almost like the different programming languages. They aren't trained on any dependency. They just have deep understanding of a programming language. And then we have to apply a mechanism that makes it able to understand how to use these dependencies. Because I said we have an illusion about these LLMs, and that is that they're great at coding React, Vue, any library. And that's just because it happens to be part of their training data. And there's also this moment in time where I saw this presentation where they talked about it doesn't really make sense to insert like it doesn't make sense, like the models are so good at using natural language that it doesn't make sense, and even doing coding, that it doesn't really make sense to just keep training them on the latest information on the web. And at that point, it's just going to get worse, right? So there has to be some mechanism where the LLM is able to learn about how these dependencies actually work. There has to be. And then you have, and we kind of done that now. At least we explored a concept that actually works, or seemingly works. And maybe this could be like an actual service, like in front of npm. As I mentioned, you would be able to just send in a dependency with a version, and you would actually get usage examples back, which is a good format for an LLM to understand how to use a dependency. And then will be cached for everyone, which is nice. But now we have external resources, and external resources, there's no embedded documentation in it. Like you can insert the actual yeah, maybe that's how you would do it. You would actually, I wonder how big the Tailwind CSS, how many tokens is the Tailwind CSS file? Let's see. Where's the tokenizer? Hi again. I'm finishing our proof of concept, our sandbox proof of concept. And now we actually support like multiple dependencies. I'm actually storing by version. Oh, I forgot. I was going to store by minor version. Okay, so let's do dependency with minor version. So that would be substring 0. What is it? No, that doesn't work. Split. Slice. I think this would be it, and then join by. I think this is correct. We'll figure it out. Anyways, you can have any dependency, and now I am reflecting on external resources, because let's see, let me finish this one, because as I just mentioned, like we found a way to actually teach LLMs about dependencies. Maybe not the best way, but it works. And that's really, really cool. And it's really interesting because as I also just briefly mentioned, it's like there might be a time where they actually stop training, or they won't be training. Like they've been training these LLMs on the contents of the web, and it has a lot of inherent knowledge about things, like including React and all kinds of programming languages and dependencies and stuff. But I heard this presentation where they talked about how that need is reduced as we progress, because they're getting like fundamentally so smart, but also because it's just less data, so it doesn't really help that much to like every year you shove in a year of new data. It doesn't have the same impact as putting in like the last 30 years of data from the internet, or how many years has internet been around. So that's the illusion we have with coding, is that what's great now is that they seem to have like some emergent understanding of code, maybe, but they don't magically understand dependencies. There has to be a mechanism for LLMs to access how to use dependencies. There has to be. And this is one example of how to do that. But then you have external resources, and external resources, they don't have any, like we talked about the different ways you could extract documentation from npm dependencies, but external resources doesn't have that at all. So what I'm looking at now is like, okay, tailwind CSS, if you add tailwind CSS, how, oh, interesting. How, yeah, how many tokens is it? Could you just embed the whole CSS file? It's probably, I'm just curious, where the hell is my tokenizer? Tokenizer. Oh. Oh, we broke the tokenizer. Woo! Did we break it? Let's wait. You can do it. You can do it. Like, we kind of already know it's way too much. I'm still curious. Yeah, so it's 123,000 tokens. So let's imagine that when ChatGPT 4.0 was trained, there was no Tailwind CSS. It didn't exist. And it was just released. And then this is the only documentation we have for how it works. How would you make an LLM able to understand how it works? Yeah, I haven't like I don't have an experience with Python. Funny enough, it's just never been like exposed to me in my career of like product development and web. I see a lot of people use Jupyter, but yeah, to me, I'm not so curious about like the how to use the LLMs. It's more how to embed them in actual products. So when I talk about dependencies here, it's more dependencies related to code generation. So we're generating these sandboxes, and that code might have some dependency to like whatever, state management tools, date function libraries, like it doesn't matter, like anything. And how do you make it understand how those dependencies work? Yeah, you know what? If I made a statement, I don't have like super broad experience in different languages. I tried different things like C# and Rust and Elm, which is, yeah, it's not, yeah, as languagey as the other languages. But Python, I understand, is kind of the next most accessible language. Like JavaScript is the most accessible one. I think you can't argue that. I'm not sure. But But yeah, Python seems to be like the runner-up to accessibility, like using the language. But yeah, it's just a statement. I don't identify with that statement. Happy to be adjusted. Oh, it's even more accessible than JS. Yeah, I guess it depends on how you think about accessibility. Like, what I mean by accessible, JavaScript is accessible is that you can just run it in the browser. Like, you can create a file, run it in the browser. You can open the console in the browser and play around with it. While Python, you actually have to install it, and there's a bigger threshold to actually execute Python code than executing JavaScript code. But yeah, as a language, yeah, it does have types though, doesn't it? And types is like, for someone who doesn't do programming or tries to learn programming, that's kind of the beauty of JavaScript. Is like, you don't have to learn about types to get something going. But yeah, if you're going to build anything, oh, it's optional types. That's interesting. I didn't know that. I should really, that would be fun. I would love to. I love my Rust book. I read it like 3 times just because I'm fascinated by like how that language works differently from what I know. I would love to do the same with Python. Just read the book. Do you know a good book for Python? But what the hell are we going to do with, conceptually, what are we going to do with external resource dependencies? There is no way to grab documentation for them. So what we can do, we can just say that external resources are less reliable. And what we're going to do, we're just going to give, as part of the prompt, just like we give the usage examples of the npm dependencies, we're just going to give it the URLs of the external resources. And then it can infer from that what it can use. So it sees that Tailwind is like an external CSS resource. And then it probably will use that. So we can try that first, but it's very interesting to me. It's like, all languages has very explicit structured dependency management, except JavaScript is a complete mess, but they're trying to fix it. But at least it has a package manager, right? But that's not all in the world of web. You also have external resources, and those aren't any kind of package management. It's just some URLs. Anyways, let's get this running. We need some, I guess, div. I just want some. Yeah, but what do you put into the RAG or into the? Do you create like one huge ass database on all the dependencies, all the JavaScript dependencies in the world? With all the different versions? But that's what I like about, like, it could be dynamic. I you know what, when you say RAG, I think npm should have a RAG service. It should be more dynamic. Like, it shouldn't just shove the whole freaking registry of npm in there. But it could be like on request. So if someone asks for like a dependency, it could like go and do the work. So it would be slower on the very first request, like RAG request for a certain dependency, for a certain version, but then would be super fast for everyone else. Yeah, so like in the other proof of concept, the one that actually is like to actually create a web application. That one has RAG for the scope dependencies for that. So it's using like Firebase, Vue, and Tailwind. So it has RAG for those specific libraries. And they're locked on version. It's so interesting. Like, if you want to build a product where someone who doesn't know how to code should be able to create and deploy a web application, like how much you have to scope it down to make it reliable. But it makes sense as well, because as a person who doesn't know how to code, you don't care about these underlying dependencies. Is it Firebase? Is it React? Is it Vue? Is it Svelte? Like, you don't care. So and then it just opens up more. Like, it just becomes way more predictable when you create an experience around specific dependencies on specific versions. You can embed all the documentation you want. You can be very specific about how to implement things, how to create files. Like, there's so much stuff in there. Yeah, I keep like I've had so many iterations on like that broad concept of this, and I've had like multiple working versions of it, but and I think like from all these like the diverging of paths there, doing a little bit here and a little bit there, and I always come back to that app, iterating on it. And maybe one day it will actually be something. But it's really cool. Like, I had this experience where I gave this very ambiguous, like, create me a, I can't remember, like a to-do management app or something. And then you will be able to, like, it would first go through like a flow of reducing ambiguity. So first it was conversational, because LLMs are conversational. But then I moved away from that concept, and I was way more like dedicated to, okay, no, we're not going to give a text response. We're going to give a structured response of user stories. And then the user is actually able to interact with those user stories manually, or use conversation to change them. And then doing that, those user stories would then turn into a description of the behavior of the app, a description of the interactions with the app, where behaviors, where interaction is a description of what happens between the user and the interface, and the behaviors is a description of what happens between the interface and the underlying system. But then having Firebase as a first-class dependency, you can also start like reducing ambiguity by reflecting on, does this requires authentication? Do we want to persist this in Firebase? Like, you have these specific things you can ask about. And then it would even generate a freaking proof of concept from that description. And then I've kind of been bumping into the implementation flow. But it had a debug flow and everything. It was so fun to kind of get back to that after all of this. But yeah, anyway, sorry, I digress. Margin bottom. It's a really cool thing. I should probably have like made some like tags to kind of show the different working versions of that. I kind of been just hammering at it. But okay, let's, but yeah, like Tailwind is in the training data. So we can just excuse that external resources will be kind of, how to use them will be derived from the training data of the LLM. Like, I don't see, yeah, at least that will be our take for now. And it should be able to infer this, right? If we list this in the prompt that you have an external resource to Tailwind CSS, it will understand to use those classes, hopefully. But we can test it. Let's see. So let's add external resources, set external resources, use state. Let's just add that in there so we don't have to click anything because I'm super lazy. External resources. Okay, so now we have some external resources and there's no magic to this. We don't have to go and grab anything. So I'm really happy with GPT-4o though. Like that it's both faster and better than GPT-4 as I understand it, and cheaper, like half the price. That's amazing. So I think I'm finally kind of feeling that, like when I was playing around with GPT 3.5 versus 4, it was just way too slow and expensive to use GPT 4. So I've kind of been pounding on GPT 3.5 to see how far I could take it with the limited experience and I have on this. But now it's kind of, yeah, I feel good about just being able to use GPT-4o. It's a pretty amazing thing. Okay, and then we're gonna just iterate over external resources. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, sorry, that needs to be, yeah, let's just do it directly here. I'm too lazy to actually create a UI for this, proper UI. And let's trim it. And maybe we can do that in the... Oh, one thing I forgot is that I always forget is that we want to join this. Let's do double. We're going to do the same here. How should we do this? I don't think we really need, we can rather check if we have, or we're not gonna have anything in there. Okay, map external resource. Sorry. The following external resources has been added. Yeah, I think we can just do this trim and then join that by this. Oh, what did I do? Yeah, I think this is fine. Okay, let's see what it does. So now we have, so let's try something, Redux. Is it Redux React or React Redux? React Redux. Of course it is. And then when intelligence it says, I would like to do application. I would like it to do, yeah, application, whatever. Oh, I did something bad. Oh, dependencies. It should be dependency. There we go. Excuse me. Redux, React Redux. I would like to do application. Let's see what it's. Oh, I'm gonna do one more thing. Use the external sources listed and documentation to implement a single React, blah blah blah. Redux, React Redux. So now it goes, and I have not added any of these. So now it goes and grabs Redux and React Redux. And it produces usage examples based on the typing. And this is going to be cached in the browser so that we don't have to do this again. And then we actually send the prompt with all the usage examples. So do we have React Redux? Yeah. And then we had, whoa, what happened there? Oh, okay. Oh, wait a minute. But did it actually use? Yeah, it's using Tailwind, but it tried to import it. But it did use React Redux. And the point is that this library is difficult to evaluate because there's so much training data on it. But the point is we did this with React states where there isn't any training data, because I published that API just a few days ago. But let's, was there any, I don't think we actually add the, we don't actually add that. We have to fix that as well. Where are we? So if I add, is it style sheet, href, something like this? Does it use, or did I add it? No. Wait. Oh, it's a script. Oh, fudge, it's a script. I thought it was a, seriously? Is it a script? Ugh. Okay, doesn't matter. I didn't know it was a script. Where were we? Where's the, there we go. There we go. Okay. So external resources. How does this work on Code Sandbox? Like if I wanna, like how did this work in the old version, Code Sandbox IO? You know, I have it next to me here. Just 2 seconds. Let me just open something. Okay, so yeah, this is interesting. What is an external resource? I'm just looking at the, like there's no information here about it being a script. Maybe we should just external scripts and external, let's just do that. Let's call it external scripts. Yeah, it's interesting because it seems to me that we really only support CSS as external resources, but it doesn't matter. We are going to embed this directly in the, I'm not sure if we're actually using these things. Yeah, I'm not really sure. But okay, what we're gonna do is, you know, we're just gonna drop that external resources. Okay, whatever. And then we're gonna, because we generate the index file, so we're just gonna take external, let's just call it, okay, let's just make them script tags for now. Map res rest.trim. But I don't think it actually makes sense to just insert a URL, because it depends on, maybe we should just call it head or something. I don't know. Like, how would you actually do this? Because you need script tags, you need links. Maybe you want other stuff in the head as well. Maybe not. Okay, but for now we can simplify. And the thing is about a script tag is they have different attributes. So maybe you want it loaded async or whatever. But the point here is it's not going to be complex. Like the 99% use case is to include tailwind CSS. Is there a way to, maybe I'm, yeah, no. But yeah, you have things like this. Maybe we should just give you the possibility to edit the head. Yeah, we're gonna do that. So let's call it head. Let's use a text area instead. Number of calls would be, oh sorry, rows would be like, I don't know, 5 or something. And then this create thing, this is where we generate the actual sandbox. Yeah, I don't have to do that twice. Let's just do it once. Calls generated sandbox. Oh. Data. Cool. And then we have head. And we don't have to split anymore. That's going to be a string. And then yeah, and we're still going to use the external resource. This is a problem, right? When I say use the external are available. Yeah. Yeah, but I think when those are, it's interesting. It's almost like it should have the following external resources are available in the head of the document. I think I'm going to try that, and then we're going to see what happens. Yeah, I'm going to rename this to head content. Okay, we're just going to do that, and then we're going to do, let's call it head content. Then we're going to change, rename, set head content. Then we're going to change our create to take head content instead. And we're going to pass, we're not going to pass an external resources head content. Where's index? Head content, which is just a string. I'm going to shove that in here. Cool. And then we're gonna go over here and try Tailwind, and we're gonna grab the whole thing, the whole script. That's what we're gonna put here. Oh. And then we're gonna test it. Maybe we should just ask it to do the same, or like Redux, React, Redux. I would like to do application. And this is also so interesting. Like, the reason we get the result we want is because there's a shit ton of train data on to do applications. What if I were to be as ambiguous about some other type of app that doesn't have that many training data examples? Yeah. A to-do application. Boop. So now it had cached thingies. So it was somewhat faster. Oh, interesting. But yeah, it has a script here. It used Tailwind CSS. That's pretty cool. But as you saw, it made a mistake. It didn't insert So what this means is like the challenge with this product idea is that it needs to be single shot, or it doesn't like make any sense. So we can't like generate it and then verify the runtime and then like fix it. It would just take too much time, because this prompt is going to be like right next to just starting a template, which is instant. So it needs to be incredibly fast and precise. But you couldn't find React Redux context value. Well, why didn't it use that? Like, I'm very curious. Where did it fail? Was it use selector? So there's a use connecting a component, basic setup with provider. Oh, wait. What's wrong here? React Redux context value. Oh, it did the full React DOM render. It shouldn't do that. I think that's the problem. No, it's still wrong. Oh, sorry. So it still needs the provider. Yeah. But this is probably just some prompt engineering. So if I just want to make sure I understand what went wrong. Yeah. So it just assumed that it needed to use React DOM. But what we're doing here is that we're creating, like, I only have one button here, but we would have multiple buttons, one for Vue, one for Svelte, and the other Sandbox runtimes that we have. So we'll also have a specific prompt for each of these. So we can a single a single React component file that is exponent. this React component will be mounted to a single that is exported as default. The exported component will be mounted into the app. Whatever, something like that. Yeah, let's see. So we're gonna do Redux, React Redux again. To do application. So we got all our documentation here. I wonder, yeah, we should also check the price for this now. We're putting in two relatively big. No, it still messes it up. Do I have to like say do not use? It's interesting. Let's look at the prompt again. That is like I heard that you should not like tell it not what to do. You should rather tell it what to do. It responds better to that. But that's do not render the component. Because what was it doing? What's it called? Do not render the component to the browser, to the UI, to the browser. Okay, let's try it. Redux, React Redux. Yeah, but there's bigger problems here. Like there's a third kind of dependency. So you have npm dependencies, you have like head dependencies. Let's change this from head to head resources. You also have like shard cn, and shard cn just won't work because it's not an npm dependency and it doesn't have like head resources. So it just says so much about the complexity of web development. So the way you do this is installation. So you kind of do it, let's say, manual. You would install all of these things. Imagine that if you're using the New York style install. Like you have to configure path aliases. Like this is just too complicated for a sandbox, but I think that's also fine. It's like, but the point is in the accordion, like how to install it, you have to manually add the code. That's how this works, which is very interesting. But yeah, we're not gonna handle that type of dependency. But yeah, let's see how it behaves now. Redux, React Redux. To do app. Yeah, that worked. Cool. Okay, so maybe we should just try something else then. What if we wanted to do React states? A traffic light where where every 5 seconds, a traffic light where every 5 seconds it moves to red for 3 seconds and then I wonder if it like infers that it should go through yellow. Traffic light of green, yellow, and red, where every 5 seconds it moves to red for 3 seconds and then back to green. Yeah, let's I'm very curious about this. And we're using Tailwind CSS, of course. Yeah, it needs to download documentation for React states. We forgot to check the cost of these. I'm curious how much the price is on these things. So we have our documentation. Okay, interesting. Oh. Well, it does something. What does it do? Yeah, it works. It even used Tailwind CSS. This is pretty cool, right? I think there's value in this. We're gonna add like a specific loading state for is downloading usage example, set is downloading loading usage examples, use state false. So if we get into set is downloading, and then when we're done doing that, set is downloading usage examples false, and then we're gonna show a little spinner. Where are we gonna show that? Yeah, let's show it underneath. Let's do like an H4 downloading usage examples. You know what? I think I'm super happy about this. It's like it's a proper proof of concept where we actually were able to make it more reliable. We even explored like and reflected on ideas around how do you actually make dependencies work. I think if you were to like not do this kind of thing, but if you were to do like this other proof of concept, as I said, it had hard-coded dependencies. It would ship, like you would download the app with the embedded documentation for that specific version. If any of the libraries would change version, the app itself would bump its versions, create new embeddings for the documentation, and then you would get a new application out the door. But then you have this other thing where, okay, you have an existing project and you have some dependencies in it, and then you're using these dependencies already. So like the embedding of any code, however that would work, would kind of give some information to the LLM on how to use these dependencies, but it wouldn't be enough, right? What if you were to use a new API from one of these dependencies? So it really does need that documentation. So yeah, but in that case, you would use a different mechanism. Like you would, whatever that, like if it's an npm package that's like is an assistant, or if it's an actual app, like you would have to resolve the documentation for these dependencies when you open the workspace the first time. Like you would need to have like some kind of embedding store tied to the workspace, and it will populate it the first time you open the workspace. Maybe you could even like choose what dependencies you want to grab, embed, because you probably have a bunch of dependencies that are irrelevant. That's also interesting. I do wonder what it would generate from the React typings, by the way. Those are pretty massive. Anyways, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to close down the stream. We have a working proof of concept. I'm going to show it to a couple of colleagues, and then we'll see if we actually do anything with this. No matter, we are ready to move back to the other concept, I think. I think. Or maybe we should try to build like a npm rag. The problem is the cost, right? Someone has to pay for it. Or maybe we could create like a proof of concept of it. Like just create a repo, open source, npm rag. And then, but then we have this JSR thing. Maybe we should create a JSR rag instead. That would be more interesting. Maybe. But again, JSR allows for other yeah. I'm not sure. Need to think about that. Okay, bye for now.